because they're expecting us to view this. At least they can see, somebody else can see actually this is what we're talking about on YouTube as well. So basically what we're looking at here, it's something very amazing. We're looking at here something that whether we like it or not, it's is basically something super, super amazing that our creator is showing us right here, that Yosef was the firstborn, whether we like it or not, of the promise, okay, of the promise.
Yeah, I was a little confused on that too as well. I was like, if he's because on the video you had sent me, and how he was like the firstborn, but I was like, what about? I was like a little confused. Yeah, that kind of cleared it.
Okay, well, let's go back over here. Look, if you really think about it, let's go back over here on the graphic, okay? On the graphic, let's go back a little bit here, okay? Look, Rivka and Yitzhak or Isaac begot Jacob, right? Jacob. All these wives are not legal wives. They are more like a servant, more like, okay, concubines, but the actual legal wife, or the one who has a contract of wife, is Rachel. Not only that, he loved her. He loved her. He was in love with her the entire time.
So it's kind of like when Abraham had he had Ishmael first with Hagar, and then he went with but
exactly right.
Sarah ended up having Mary.
Exactly right. Exactly right. The same kind of example. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And we can see a lot of examples in the scriptures where the scriptures is very, very direct when it comes to concubine or a servant and the actual legal wife. Who do you think has more priority? The dips. I mean, who do you think has a priority? The wife, the legal wife, all the time. It's just the reality. Even today, in the court of law, I mean, the legal wife always going to have the dips. In other words, the primary. Right. So let's go back over here. And now I want to show you here, because I didn't show you, but you can see here. Can you tell me the letter on the right and the letter on the left? Which one is the letter on the right? The letter on the right is basically is Aleph Tau, the first letter of the Hebrew. And don't worry, later we're gonna go into the Hebrew alphabet. But the one on the right is the Hebrew letter for Aleph and the Hebrew letter for Tau. What is the Aleph is the first letter of the alphabet, and Tau is the last letter. What the Christians call it today, the Greek word with Alpha and Omega. Who do you think is the Aleph Tau? Is the Mashiach. You see that here? Yeah. Here in the scriptures itself is literally showing you who is it. Yosef is the foreshadow of the Mashiach. Yosef is a foreshadow of the Mashiach. Not only that, look what it says. He's the Yeroi. He's the shepherd. Doesn't the Mashiach always talk about that? He is the shepherd. We are the sheep. Chapter 7, write it down. Chapter 7 of John. He says, I am the door, and you are my sheep. And everyone comes in one door, which is me. And I had two flocks. One that I'm dealing right now, but I have another flock that I really must bring it together. I bring it to me. That's another topic. Believe me, that's another topic. Okay. But read it, chapter 10 of John. He says very, very clear. So what I can actually show you here, let's go into something else. Now, let me show you this. Look at some Jewish commentaries talks about this verse. Look what it says here. Look at what it says here. He was born in his old age, talking about Jacob, about Joseph. And Ankelos, another translation says that the son of wisdom who was for him. He had learned from the yeshiva. Yeshiva means the school of Shem. Who was Shem? You remember who was Shem? He was one of the sons of Noah. He was Shem,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And Japheth, right? Shem is the lineage of all the Hebrews. Okay? Shem and Heber, okay? That was the son of Shem. He gave it to him. This is to say that Jacob told Joseph the wisdom and the secrets of Torah and found them as an intellectual and a master of the secrets of the Torah, as if he were an old man in many years. What is all this? That means that all the knowledge of the Torah was passed on from one generation to another generation. And what is it that Jacob is doing? He was passing on whatever it was passed on to. Who gave it to him? Jitzah gave it to Jacob, and Jacob is passing on to who? To Joseph, because he loved them so much that he passed the secrets of the Torah. He passed into, he had so much knowledge, this young man. And by the way, he was 17 years old, by the way, just so you know, okay? 17 of Genesis, I'm sorry, 37 verse 2, he says that he was 17 years old. Now, let me show you the next thing. In this Torah portion, okay, in these, and let me just stop here for like a couple of seconds, we'll go back. In this Torah portion, okay, in this Torah portion, from chapter 37 all the way to 40, just in that portion itself, there are 6 wows, 6 Hebrew letter wows that appear in that portion. Okay, what does it mean to you and me? We'll go next right now, and we'll tell you the meaning of this. The numeric value of wow, it's 6. The numeric value of wow is 6. Okay, 6 is the numeric value of wow. Now, let me ask you something. What day was man made?
On the 6th day.
On the 6th day. In other words, this is a foreshadow in secrets encoded on the scriptures that you have to look for it. You're not going to find it in English. You're not going to find it in Chinese. You're not going to find it in Spanish and any other language. You have to look into the Hebrew to find these secrets. In this Torah portion is literally showing 6 wows. Why? Because not only man was made in the 6th day, but also there are 6 millenniums of the mankind. From the fall of Adam, please write it down, from the fall of Adam until the Mashiach returns, right? Before the end of this 6,000 year millennium, we have a period of time of mankind. You remember when the Mashiach returns, it will be 1,000 years, right? Will be that's the 7th millennium. Right now, we are almost at the end of the 6 millenniums right now, almost. In other words, we have very little time, very little time. Let's continue. Look at the version, not on the Hebrew, but Aramaic version on the Torah, this Torah portion 37:2. Look at what it says here. The Targum, Jonathan, that's version of the scriptures in Aramaic. These are the generations of Yaakov. Joseph was 17 years old. He had come from the school and was a young man raised with the children of Bilhah, which is one of the concubines of Jacob, and the children of Zilpah, that's another concubine, and their parents' wives. And Joseph brought a bad report for them, for he has seen them, whom his brothers, the 11 brothers that hated him, right? He has seen them eat the flesh that have been torn apart by wild beasts, ears and tails, and he had come and told his father. Now, it sounds like a tattletale, right? It sounds like somebody's gossiping here, right? Sounds like that. If people don't pay attention to these little details, it sounds, oh, this is a tattletale. He's literally telling, his dad about them. No. It wasn't him. Yaakov told his son, Joseph, okay, to go and watch over his brothers. It wasn't because he wanted to. The father sent them to. Now let me ask you something, because this all relates to you and me, and ultimately to the Mashiach, Yeshua. Do you remember that any time in the scriptures, in the so-called New Testament, where the Messiah, Yeshua, always took upon himself to say whatever he wanted to say, or he said it, or he did, or he said because somebody told him to?
Yeah, because Yahweh told.
Exactly. Don't you remember that he said countless times where the Mashiach said, my Father, I'm doing the will of my Father. My Father told me, I'm doing this authority that is, given to me, bestowed upon me, is because my Father Yahweh gave it to me. I'm doing it because I'm doing his will, in other words. Is what is called today, there's a title of our Jewish brothers give the Mashiach, two titles. And please write it down. Mashiach ben Joseph, or Mashiach son of Joseph, and Mashiach ben David, Mashiach son of David or David. Okay, those are two titles. Mashiach, let me write it here in the chat. Okay, Mashiach ben Joseph, okay, which means Mashiach, son of Joseph. I'm sorry, it's not Joseph, it's Joseph with the O, okay? And Mashiach ben David, which means the son of David. Why is the same Mashiach, okay? So he just only has two roles to play, two roles to fulfill. Why? Because the first one, why our Jewish brothers give the Mashiach two titles, is because if you remember the story of Joseph, he was the suffering servant, right? He suffered. He was sold to the Egyptians, and then he became what? Almost the second of the king. It is literally foreshadowing the Mashiach. In this case, the Mashiach comes as a servant, he dies, and then he returns, he's going to become as a Mashiach ben David. Why? Because he's coming not as the suffering, but he's coming as a king, as a melech. Okay, so we've seen two titles here. Okay, now let's continue with this, and let me show you something very important. Okay, I don't want to make it too long, but I just want to give you the essence today. Okay, now look at what it says here. Because he loved, look what it says, 37:3. Because he loved Israel, or Jacob loved Joseph more than all his sons. It says very clear here, because he was the son of what? The old age to him. In other words, he was the one who was in love, that he loved them a lot because of what? Who do you think he died afterward? After having Benjamin, Rachel died. Okay, Rachel dies, but that reminded him of his, his beloved one, which is Rachel or Rachel. But not only that, look at what it says here. He made a coat of many pasim, many colors, reaching to the feet. Now, I want to show you something, okay? Because you might want to research this. I did my own research, but I'll bring it to you so you can literally see it. And it's amazing when you research and you'll find out so many little things about so many things that are being uncovered today, to be honest with you. But let me just show you this real quick. Can you see? Can you see this?
Yeah, I see.
Okay, what do you see here? You see some kind of tomb, right? Okay, basically this is a recreation. Basically, it doesn't look like that right now, but this is a recreation of a tomb that was found in Egypt, near Egypt, in the same land of Egypt. Okay, not by the pyramids, by same region of Egypt. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Egyptologists and the so-called archaeologists cannot comprehend who this guy is. And this was found a couple of years ago, not long ago, but a couple of years ago was found. And the amazing thing is that there are amazed and astonished these so-called scholars and so forth, that they cannot comprehend that this guy is somebody very important. Okay, somebody very important. But the amazing thing, that actually I was really astonished too, and not surprisingly, but I was astonished that what they said is that that this guy is somebody very important in Egypt. Not only that, that he was buried, he was not buried, but the amazing thing is that that tomb is empty. Okay,
Oh shoot.
It doesn't have a,
Damn.
it's empty. Okay, and it's somebody very important. They built that tomb.
So, are you trying to say it's got to be awesome, right?
Who?
Because when they took Yahusha,
It is Yahweh.
Remember, Moshe took his bones. Yeah, they took his bones. And they brought it to the land of Canaan.
It is Yahusha. It is Yahusha. You know the amazing thing is. The amazing thing is that this usually the tombs are very similar to one another. That's the amazing thing. You're always gonna see. I'll show you an example. Okay, since you're already here, might as well just show you. But this is usually. This is usually how the Egyptian tombs, they look alike, right? They look very, very Egyptian. They look very, you can tell that they're Egyptians. You can tell they look very Egyptian. To every Egyptologist says, oh yeah, this is an Egyptian. See that? Very Egyptian. But in this case, doesn't look nothing like that. Nothing.
Yeah, the coat. Yeah, it's like his
own. It looks, exactly. Do you see the garment here?
Yeah.
You see the garment? What kind of colors are the garments? Many colors. It's Joseph. It's Joseph. Okay? Yeah. It's Joseph. Neither one of them look like this one is so different from the rest, all the Egyptians. Yeah. Why? Because Joseph was the second of the king. Do you imagine how much power he had? And you have to understand this, Abraham, you have to understand this, that when it comes to Joseph, it's so similar. Remember what I said before? The past repeats itself. The Ecclesiastes 1:9 says, what he was, it will be again. It's a format that you will see in the scriptures over and over again. You're going to see it over and over again in the scriptures about the history repeats itself. It's just a format in the scriptures. Nonetheless, right here is a foreshadow of the Mashiach. See, Joseph became the second of the Pharaoh. Mashiach, Yahushua, is the second of Yahweh. In other words, the authority, the power, everything, Yahweh has it. Who gave it to? The Mashiach is under him. See, a lot of people, I want you to write this, and I want you to please put this in your heart, your mind. It's not what the Christian says. It's not what the Messianic says, because a lot of Messianics, they claim that Yahweh and Mashiach have the same equality, same power and everything. It's not true.
It's not true.
The Mashiach doesn't say that.
Yeah, I got to learn that. I always, he would ask me, like, so they're like the same level? And I'm like,
no, they're not. The Mashiach said himself, my Father is about me. My Father is greater than me. He said it with his own words. A lot of people think to go a little bit farther and say, yeah, because he was here on earth. Okay, well, let's go with the other scriptures, because other scriptures says the same thing. Paul or Shaul, you know what he said? He said in the book of Colossians that he said that he was in the same level of Yahweh. I'm talking about estate. He didn't took body, okay? But being the same state of the word, right? The Torah.
Yeah, the Torah.
He didn't become like his father. You see that? Why? He doesn't have, if you really think about it, why do you think he's called son and Yahweh called himself father? It's very simple. It's all simple logistics. Let me show you another verse, because since we are already here, might as well just show you. Okay, I don't have it on the slides, but I will show you in the scriptures. This is very, very clear about this matter. Okay, let me show you here in the book of Psalms. Okay, look at the book of Psalms. Okay. One moment. Hold on. Where am I? One moment. Okay. Okay, look at the book of Psalms, and let's go with the book of Psalms real quick. Chapter 2. Look at what it says, and let me just show you and make it bigger so you can see it. I want you to read this for me, please. And I'm going to make it bigger so you can see it, okay? I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Can you read it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, go ahead and read 7 and 8, please. Psalm 7 and 8. 2, 7, and 8.
Okay. I will declare concerning the statue of Yahweh. He said to me, "You are my son. Today I have begotten you." Psalm 2:8. Ask of me, and I will give the nations as your inheritance, as your possession, the ends of the earth.
You see that? Very clear. The Mashiach, Yahushua, said it very clear. All authority and power has been given to me from the heavens and earth. He said it. Who gave it to him? Yahweh gave it to him. Yeah. Why? Because you and I and all the nations are his inheritance. In other words, Israel is in the inheritance of the Mashiach. Okay? In other words, he is, remember let's go back up a little bit. In this portion, it says very clear, very, very super clear that that the Pharaoh, remember when he took off his ring and gave it to Joseph? Yeah. He said, look, you're going to have all the power that you wish, except for me. I'm going to be above you. I'm going to stay over there in the back. You do you. Do yourself. Do what you need to do. What do you think the Mashiach is doing right now? Yahweh is over in the back. He has given, there is a frame time that is being playing on right now. Please write this down, chapter 15 from 1 Corinthians. Okay, read the whole chapter, but the middle of the chapter, okay, the middle of the chapter, it says that the Mashiach is the first fruits of the resurrection. Why? Because he was the first one who rose, right? Who was resurrected, but he never died. The rest did, right? A lot of people who was resurrected, but neither one stayed the same. They all went back up again on the tomb. The Mashiach is the first one who ever rose from the tomb, but he never went back up again. That's why he's called the first one. Now, besides that, keep reading. He says very clear that when all this thing is being finished and all the enemies are on the footstool, then the Mashiach himself is going to give all the power and authority to the one who gave it to him. Who do you think he gave it to him? Yahweh. Read it very clear. Very clear. It says very, very clear there that the Mashiach is going to give back the authority and the power is being given to him. And then in that day, as the book of Joel or Joel says, that in that day Yahweh will be echad, will be one. Why? Because he will be the one reigning forever and ever. And that will be in the Lalang Abba, in the everlasting life. That will be in the 8th day, after 1,000 years. That's another topic. Mm-hmm. So what do we see here? We see a lot of beautiful things. We see a lot of things that are unfolding. Nevertheless, ignoring the essence. Now, look at here. In gematria, remember the gematria, every letter has a number. The word pas, which is colors, right? What we saw earlier, pasim is in plural for colors. Pas is color, is the number in Hebrew, okay? The pei and the shem, on the shem, those two letters are 190. But also the word ketz in Hebrew also has 190 and also means end. End. Okay, so let's look look a little bit of this. Ketz means end of time, a term, or an end of something, a fulfillment, in other words. Let's look at other verses. Let me give you an example real quick. Genesis chapter 6, verse 13, and the supreme being, or the Almighty, said to Noah, the ketz, the end of every man has come before me. What does it tell you, Abraham? It tells you that is the end of something, a judgment day, in other words. There is something that is coming. That's something that is ending, but it's something that is coming. Very amazing. There is more to it, believe me. There is more to it, because I can show you so many verses, and just at least, you have an idea, but at least you have an idea that word ketz is basically showing more to it. These days that we're living in the end, because the time is getting very, very thin. We're living basically in the last generation, whether we like it or not. We are. And the amazing thing is, a lot of people don't realize it. How close are we coming to as far as the end? But we have to continue. Now, let me bring it to this. In the same portion that we are looking, look at what it says. So Joseph was sent to look for his brothers, and look at what happens. Chapter 37, verse 15. He found a man, and he found them wandering around the countryside, and the man, that mysterious man, asked him, "What are you looking for?" He asked Joseph, "What are you looking for?" My question to you and to me and to everybody is, what are we looking at? What is that we're looking for? Yahweh is asking for you, Abraham. For me, have we found what we're looking for? Are we still looking for what we're looking for? That's a very good question. Mm-hmm. Look at the Mashiach asks. He tells us, every single one of us, with his own words. Look at what it says, chapter 6, verse 33. Rather, seek first the kingdom of Yahweh and his tzedakah, his righteousness. That's what tzedakah means. And all these things will be given to you in addition. In other words, what are we looking for? Are we looking for something that is special in our lives, something to make a change in our lives? Are we looking for money? Are we looking for a woman? Are we looking for a good job? Are we looking for be prosperous? And how, all these people, how they preach to be prosperous, to make money, but they never talk about anything about how to seek the Creator with the right way, to repent first, to do Shubah, to go back, to turn around. They don't talk about that. Talk about that yesterday, but look at rather the Mashiach said, seek the kingdom of Yahweh. He said, tzedakah, what tzedakah is all about is about keeping Yahweh's commandments. That's basically it. Look at what Yahushua asked again. Yohanan, John 1:38. Yahushua turned and seeing that they were following him, asked them, "What are you looking for?" They replied, Rabbi, where are you staying? My question to you and to me, or to everyone, what are we looking for? The Mashiach himself is asking you and me, what are you looking for? I don't know if you remember, but if you read the scriptures where every person that wanted to go see the Mashiach when he was here in the first century, they wanted to see him and the things that he did. The wonders, that's what they want to see. They were always looking where he was at, because where he was at, there was food. I don't know. That they were not after him, they were after what he was providing, which is food, water, money. What do you see today in the churches? What is people are looking for? They're looking for all that, but they're not looking for the Creator himself, which is the main thing, what they're supposed to be there. That's why you see all this bunch of churches really feel because they just want to feel good to themselves, but nothing to do anything with the Creator, and to do Shabbat, to do the Shabbat, turn around and do better so the Creator sees something on you. No, not really. Mashiach is asking us again, what are you looking for? Are you looking for me for money? Are you looking for this? What are you looking for because of me? Because you want to bring redemption? It's a good question for us that we still need to answer that. Look at what he says here. Now he's talking to you. Now he's talking to you and to me and to those around directly. Look what he says here. Amos chapter 5 verse 4, because here is what Yahweh says to the house of Israel. You know who's the house of Israel later? I don't know if you know this. The concept of house of Israel is talking about the northern kingdom, which is you and I. He's not talking about the house of Judah, which is our Jewish brothers. He's talking about the northern kingdom, the lost 10 tribes. He says, seek me and you shall live. You shall live. Why? Because he cares so much about you, Abraham. He cares so much about me and those around the world. He cares about us. But he said that we have to seek for him. What are we looking for? We're not looking for anything, but we're looking for Yahweh. Mm-hmm. Seek me. That's what he said. You should live. Look at what it says here. Jeremiah. Look what it says here. Look what it says here. You should seek and find me when you search for me. How? Can you read the rest? How are we going to search him?
With all your heart.
With all your heart. You know, remember we talked about yesterday? Yeah. We're going to search for something, and we're going to search it. It's because we want to search it with all your might, all your mind, that you really want something bad. If you really want something bad, you're gonna search for it. You're gonna want it badly, but you have to search because you really, really want it to, and that's what our Creator wants from us. One from you, one from every single one of us. So let me tell you what the Mashiach said to me, to myself, and every time we read it, it gives me goosebumps. Seriously, because this is amazing what Mashiach said. Look what it says. Baruch. Baruch means blessed. Chapter 5 verse 6 of Matthew. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst after tzedakah. Tzedakah means righteousness, to be just, not in front of me. I'm nobody. Believe me, I'm nobody. In front of Yahweh Sevaot, for they shall be satisfied. Let me ask you something. When you are hungry, when you are thirsty, what do we do? Do you continue to be hunger and thirst? What do you do? The logical thing is, what do? You go get something to eat, right? When you're thirsty, what do? You search for something to drink. The same thing. If you're hungry, not because of food, but if you're hungry of the Creator, you're hungry that you want to learn knowledge, you want to be better in your life, that I want to be better in my life. I want to be better than I was yesterday. I want to be better than I am right now. We can, believe me, we can. So therefore, Peter says that perhaps we can do something very, very important, which make a change. But you look at what it says here, and let's go back to the same thing. Tzedakah. Tzedakah, which means that we have to continue seeking it. We have to continue keeping it. We have to learn from it. When you're hungry, you think that if we eat, let me pause here for like a few seconds. Do you think that if we just eat once every month, do you think it's enough?
No.
Or we have to eat every day? We have to eat every day, man, unless you're on a consistent fasting. But in majority of the time, we always going to be hungry. Same thing. The hunger is a continuous hunger that we have to search and search and search. And believe me, once you get your hands on, your hands on the scriptures, on the Torah, on the Mashiach himself, believe me, you don't want to let go. Because I don't want to let go, because you get more hungry. You want more desire to know more knowledge, and not just knowledge. Believe me, is the will to do something. To do something. Okay, that's how you show it. Doing something. Now let's go a little bit forward. Let's change a little bit gear. Okay, look at what they did to Joseph. Okay, look at what they did to Joseph. Genesis 37:31. And they took Joseph's long robe, and they killed a ram of the goat and dipped the robe in blood. Now, remember what we were talking earlier about the past repeat itself?
Yeah.
That's what they did to the Mashiach. Remember what we talked about Joseph if they foreshadow the Mashiach? Look at what it says, Revelation chapter 19, verse 13. And having been clothed in a garment which have been dipped in what? In blood. And his name is the Torah. His name is the Daba. Daba means the word. The word is Wayomed. Wayomed is the Torah. Those are terminologies for the Torah. The Torah of Yahweh. Our Mashiach is being titled the Torah of Yahweh. That's another title. That's another topic, by the way. But you see that here, that he's been dipped in blood. Now, what is dipped in blood? What is it that, because I want to make sure that I want to explain this, dipped in blood. Why? Why?
I'm not sure.
Huh? Why do you think it's dipped in blood? Give me a thought.
The offering.
Okay. An offer for what?
For Yahweh.
Exactly. In other words, what the Mashiach is doing, or he has done for you and me, is chapter 53. Please write it down. Isaiah 53. We all know that verse very, very clear. It talks about the suffering servant, right? That is giving his life for all of us. We know that verse very up and down, back and forth. We know that verse. That is referring to the Mashiach. Okay. Not only that, see, a lot of people don't understand this concept of how the Mashiach present himself to the world. And let me just elaborate a little bit on that. The Mashiach, you heard this in the synagogue, in the pulpits and the Christians and the churches, how they always praise the Mashiach as the Lamb of Yahweh, right? Pray, no, okay, no problem. But the problem is that they always say these things. John chapter 1, when John saw the Mashiach on the other side of the Jordan, he said, there is a Lamb of Yahweh of what? That takes what? That takes a sin of the world, right? Do you know that? Let me ask you, I'm giving you perspective so you can think logically, okay? I don't want you to just jump the gun. I want you to think about it. Now, if the Mashiach came 2,000 years ago, almost 2,000 years, a little bit more 2,000 years ago, then came and took off the sins of the world, why is it that there's still sin in the world? Does it make sense?
No.
No, right? I mean, if he took off the sins of the world, why is there is even more sin today than ever? That's a valid question, right? That's a very valid question. So that means that terminology that you see in the scriptures there, it was altered. It's not that he came to take the sins of the world. He came to redeem the world. And that's the terminology that you're going to see all over the scriptures. The terminology is Geulah. Let me write it down for you here. Geulah means, that's what we talked yesterday, right? That means redemption. I'm sorry, it's with the R, redemption, okay? That means redemption, Geulah. The Geulah that our Mashiach is bringing to all of us. Let me ask you another question within a question, okay? Do you think that perhaps, to redeem someone in the scriptures, do you know what the meaning is? To redeem someone. Any thoughts on that?
To bring him back.
Kind of. Geulah or redemption means to buy somebody else's debt. I'll give an example in the scriptures. When a slave was sold, okay, and was sold for a certain amount of money, and I'm the owner of that slave, okay, then another person say, you know what, how much do you bought that from? I mean, this guy or this female servant. Well, I bought him for $10,000. Okay, well then I'll give you 12,000. 12,000 given to me, okay? So that person he buys it from me. And what is it that the other person does? He can do whatever he wants. He's saying to that slave, you know what? You can go. I'll let you go free. I'll let you for free. I pay your debt. I cannot do anything about it because he already paid for it. The Mashiach is doing that for me, from you, for anyone that wants to be free. Do you see the difference? That's what there's still. That's what there's still sin right now, because not everybody wants that redemption.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see the difference between one another? You see that in the Torah. You see that in the scriptures, where the scripture it states very clear the word for the redemption. Our Mashiach brings that redemption to all of us, to Israel. But let me make a parenthesis there, okay? Parenthesis. He doesn't bring it to the whole world, but he brings it to a certain people, the redemption. And I want to make it clear because it is in the scriptures, okay? It is basically, it is also too in the New Testament, okay? Have you ever heard of the Shem Tov in Hebrew? Of Matthew, Shem Tov, Hebrew, Matthew. There is a backstory on that. Later, I will explain to you how this version of the scriptures in Hebrew, not in Greek, in Hebrew came about. But there are 27 copies around the world. Please write it down and do research. There is 27 copies around the world but you can actually obtain, the translation of that Hebrew. And it's amazing to see that some of these things being altered. Some of these things I don't want to tell you, because you know who's the author of this alteration? The Vatican. The Vatican did a lot of alteration on the scriptures of the New Testament. Stuff that is supposed to be there, it kind of edited, kind of took it out for you not to know. But when these latter days, the era of knowledge, it's through the internet. Basically, you can pretty much see all this. So the amazing thing is that in that version that I'm talking about, that you can actually obtain that copy, it says very clear when the Mashiach was in the Last Supper, quote unquote, which is the Passover, the last Passover. He said these words. He was holding the cup. There are 4 cups in the Seder and the Passover. Okay, there are 4 cups that we're supposed to drink. One of the cups, the Mashiach, he said that he raised up the cup with wine, and he said, this is the Beri Chadashah. This is the renewed covenant, not new covenant, renewed covenant that is given to the house of Israel. Now, in the regular Bibles, quote unquote, doesn't say that. He says this is the new covenant in the regular Bibles. This is the new covenant that is being given to all of you. That's it. That's what it says. It doesn't say directly. In the Hebrew says, this is the Beri Chadashah. This is the renewed covenant that is being given to the house of Israel. You see that? He's telling you, what is it? He's telling you it's renewed. He's telling you it's the same covenant that was given to Jacob. It's the same covenant that was given to Abraham. It's the same covenant that was given to Yitzhak or Isaac. The same covenant, but it's renewed. It's being renewed because of the Mashiach. And also is telling you who's being given to. It's given to Israel. It's not the nations. Now, is there any contradiction between the nations and Israel? You have to understand this. All the 10 tribes, all the children of Israel is all scattering among the nations. Why do you think that the scriptures always talk about the 4 corners of the world? or or scatter among the nations. It's because that's what it is. All the children of Israel are scattered among the nations. But what the Creator is doing to you, Abraham, is doing to me, is getting these people out of Babylon. Remember we talk about Babylon? He's talking about bringing out of that system, and he's bringing them to him. And that's what we're doing right now. You see that? All right. So let's go a little forward. Look at what it says here. Now, this is going to blow your mind, okay? Look at this is going to blow your mind. Amos 1:1. So say Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4 I would not turn back from it. In other words, I'm not gonna pardon them. For he pursued his brother with his sword, he corrupted his compassions, and his anger tore continually, and he kept his wrath forever. Now let's break it down a little bit. Who's Edom? Could you tell me who's Edom or Edom today? Or let's go back in those times. Who was Edom? Who was Esau? Esau is another word for Edom. Do you know who was Esau?
I'm not sure.
He was the twin brother of Jacob.
Oh, Esau. Yeah.
Esau.
Yeah.
Esau, Hebrew, Esau is in English, right?
Oh,
okay. Esau is the twin brother of Jacob. But Esau has another name, which is Edom. Okay? Edom is basically Rome. Write it down. Edom is basically Rome. Remember I talk about that in Mystery Babylon, right?
Yeah.
Edom is basically Rome. Rome is basically Christianity. Okay? Look at what it says here. For 3 and 4 transgressions, Edom, I'm not going to pardon you. See, I'm not going to turn back from it, because he has pursued his brother with his sword. And now, who's his brother? He says very clear who his brother is. Look at what it says, Ezekiel 25, verse 12. Look at what it says, who's his brother. And there is a reason why the northern kingdom is not in there. Look at what it says here. So say Yahweh the Almighty, or Yield, because Edom has acted by taking vengeance against the house of Yehudah. In other words, AKA the Jews. You see that? And they are very guilty in our avenge on them. In other words, let me pause here for a moment, because if I don't say it, I don't want to leave you in the limbo, okay? I don't want to leave you hanging. I don't know if you've seen this over and over and over and over again through history, that Christianity always have killed the Jews in the name of Christianity. Dark Ages, right? The Holy Inquisition, right? You've seen this over and over again. You see this in the Nazis, right? Because the Nazis were part of the Rome, part of the Vatican. The Vaticans were really, I mean, with the Nazis. You can see pictures shaking hands. Say, okay, keep it up, because they were in it. Okay, and what did they do? They were doing this to our Jewish brothers. Now, what happens to the northern kingdom, to the house of Israel? Remember this, Edom, right? Edom, the Christian world is the Ephraim, or the house of Israel, has been in that system of Edom, the Christianity. We are coming out of it. And let me show you real quick, okay? Let me show you with verses, with this. Look at what it says here. Here it's talking about the Mashiach, okay? But look at, it's very, very staggering, very surprisingly how the scriptures tells you. Just as the prophet himself. Isaiah 63 verse 1. Who is this who comes from Edom, who with dyed garments from Bozrah? This one adorned on his clothing, inclining with great power. Is it I speaking in righteousness, the great Leoshiach, the great salvation. The great salvation, that's what it means. The great salvation. Why? The question is this. What is Mashiach doing in the gates of Rome? Shouldn't he be in the gates of Jerusalem? Right? That's a fair question, right? Shouldn't be he be over there in Jerusalem, in Israel, right? What is he doing in the gates of Rome? The only answer today that we can come up with, and the logical answer, is because he's been sold. Remember what I told you before, that the past repeats itself?
Yeah.
Okay. Just as Joseph was sold to Egypt, okay?
Oh shoot, the Mashiach
Joseph
got
was
sold.
sold to Egypt, so the Messiah was also sold to the nations. And I'm going to show you.
Okay.
I'm going to show you, okay? I will show you because it's there in the scriptures. I'm not even making it up. But first things first, the word Adam in Hebrew, the word Adam is basically man, humankind, right? Humankind, right? That word comes from the word dam, which is blood. Also,
Yeah.
Adamah, which means soil or earth.
Yeah.
And also, that word Adam is Adomi, which means blunt, red, or ruddy. And also Edom. Okay, from the word
All right.
Aleph.
RaphaYah, can I use the
Yes.
restroom real quick? I'll be right
Yeah. Go for it. So what we're talking about here, brothers and sisters, is that here we see a foreshadow of the Mashiach. Here we see a foreshadow of the Mashiach showing himself as the great the Redeemer of the earth. Something that the nations, even the Christian world and the Messianic world, is not going to tell you because, once again, they don't want to tell you the truth. They don't want to tell you what it is, which is the real truth of the matter. Problem nowadays is that people don't want to search the scriptures. They want to search Rabbi Google, Rabbi Facebook, Rabbi YouTube. It's the truth. They don't want to search. They'll do their own research in the scriptures. It is your responsibility, brothers and sisters, to search Torah all the time. It is just the fact of the matter. And once again, we'll continue. Let me just show you real quick. So why did I bring this up? Why am I bringing this to you guys? Is because the first man, okay, the first man is called blood. Okay, blood. He's called the redhead. Okay, Adam. Now, let me ask you something, okay? Now that we broke it down, this word Adam, okay? This word Adam is the word Aleph, the word Dalet, the one in the middle, and the word Mem, or the letter Mem. Aleph, Dalet, Mem. Now, let me write it here, Abraham. Let me write it here so you can write it down. What is an acronym, okay? Adam, the Aleph, it's the first letter. Aleph is Adam. The second is Dalet, which means David or David. And the third, which is Mem, which is Mashiach. Okay? The first one is Aleph, Dalet, Mem, Adam, right? So in other words, the first one failed. Adam failed, right? David failed. Why? Because we're supposed to build the Beit HaMikdash, or the house of prayer, the temple, but he failed. His son Solomon did. And the Mashiach is the ultimate builder. He's the last one who's supposed to be redeem all of us. So that's what there is an acronym in there of the Mashiach. Now let's go back over here. Now that we know there are four redheads, okay? But before that, there are four redheads. The first one is Adam. He was a red. The second is Esau, right? Esau he was red. Remember that he was red? Yeah. He was like a redhead, right? And the third, can you tell me the third one? I just mentioned it. That's the second on the acronym. The acronym Aleph, and what was the second?
Esau.
No, David.
Oh, David.
There were four. There are four redheads, okay? The first one is Adam. The second is Esau. The third is David. And the fourth one is who? Mashiach. Okay? He's the ultimate. Why? Remember that he was dipped in blood? That's why. Okay? So let's continue. So what we see here is a series of encoded things that we see all over. And let me just show you real quick. We're almost there, okay? But I do want to show you this. I do really want to show you why the Mashiach is being Edom, is being in the Christian world. Look at what it says here, 27 verse 3 of Shem Tov Matithiyah or Matthew. Then Yehudah, he who delivered him up, having seen that he had been condemned, repented. He did teshuvah and returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders. He said, you know what? I don't want them anymore. Too late. He gave him the 30 pieces. Remember the word 30, okay? Remember the word 30. Verse 6, 27:6. And the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, it is not right to put them into a treasury, or in other words, to put back the money into the treasury, and seeing that there are the price of what? The price of what? The price is a blood money, in other words. This is a blood money. And we're not going to put it back. You know why? Because let me pause here for like 15 seconds. In the Torah, if they knew this, they did that for a reason. In the Torah says that you never ever they did it for their own, from their own vision, but in the Torah says that you cannot put money that you actually gamble or blood money, you cannot put it back in the treasury. They knew that. So you know what they did next? It's actually in the scriptures. You know what they did next? Look at what they did next. 27 verse 7. So they took the counsel and brought it with them and bought with them, or in other words, with that money, they bought the potter's field for the burial of the strangers. In other words, what did they do with that money? They bought a what? A burial with the strangers or the goyim or the nations that were buried. There was a certain place in Israel, in Jerusalem, where they bury the non-Hebrews. Okay, the non-Hebrews. They bought that place because of the 30 pieces. So in other words, what it is telling you and I, is that, remember what the past repeats itself, right? So in other words, the same as Yahusef was sold to Egypt, 20 pieces, right? 20 pieces, right?
Yeah.
Do the math. 20 plus 30 is how much?
50.
50, okay? Let's wait until that. Our Mashiach is sold by 30 pieces, and he's not sold to them. He was sold to the strangers, to the nations, to Rome. Why do you think until now the Mashiach is at the doors of Rome, at the doors of Christianity? Because our Jewish brothers, they sold the Messiah for 30 pieces to the Christian world. And he's been there the entire time. But it's your responsibility, it's my responsibility to bring him out of there. How? This is a real question, right? How? Very simple. By doing his commandments, by accepting the real Mashiach of Israel, and keep it up. That will be the only reason for us to do that. Okay, the only reason for us to do that. Now, let me just show you this before we end, because I don't want to leave before this. Okay, let me show you this. 20 plus 30 is 50. In the scriptures, 50 is very important, not only because you really yield to a lot of encoded geometry and also numbers in the scriptures, but also it always pointing at the Mashiach. But 50 is basically means in the geometry, it means Adam, also means Geulah, which is redemption, right? And also means blood. See that? That's 50.
Yeah.
If you put these letters together, it's going to give you 50. Sorry, it's going to give you 50. If you put Adam, it's going to give you 50. Put blood, it's going to give you 50. All these Hebrew letters is going to give you 50. So in other words, the Mashiach brings freedom in Jubilee. What happens in Jubilee? If anybody understands the Torah, the scriptures, the Jubilee is basically where you let go of the slave. You let go of the lands. You let go of freedom, in other words. It's freedom there. Our Mashiach is bringing freedom to all of us. And that's why he was the price that he paid for me and you. So in other words, for almost 2,000 years, Yeshua was sold by Yehuda to the Jews, to the nations, which is the Christian world. And that's the secret that you see today among the nations right now. That's the secret that you see basically, around the world, this so-called Jesus. But in reality, remember, and let me just close with this. Remember that how Joseph, the brothers couldn't recognize him? Remember that Joseph was really, he looked very, very like a Pharaoh, right? He looked very Egyptian, right? He was shaved. He was like, he was with the mascara, right? Was mascara. He was, he looked like a Pharaoh. He looks very straight up, totally different from what. Let me ask you something. Let me ask you, because this is a question that I have to ask. Otherwise, nobody's going to ask that. Who are the brothers today that cannot recognize him?
Jews.
Are you sure?
I can't.
It's us. They're in front of them. They can even recognize him. They think it's somebody else. You know why? You know why they cannot recognize him? Because they see him in a different clothing. They see him as a Christian. They see him as a pope. They see him as a very Greco-Roman look-alike man. That's why they see him like this. And let me just close with this real quick. I know I don't want to make it too long, but they see him like this. They see him like this, like a Pharaoh. See? Yeah. But this is Joseph. This is a brother, but they saw him like this, the one on the left. So okay, the same thing as today. Same thing. They see him like this. Am I right? Am I wrong? Who do you think in the right mind the first century is gonna look like this? They look very Greco-Roman. Nobody in the right mind, the Hebrew, will have a long hair because they would tend to think you're a woman. No Hebrews let their hair grow like that because it was forbidden, because the Creator wanted you to make the difference, differ between one another, female and male. Male, they have short hair. Female, they have long hair. Looks like a I don't know, Aphrodite. Okay, plus the garments look very Greco-Roman. No Hebrews look like that. This is the Hebrew right here, the Hebrew on the right side. This is the Hebrew that you will recognize them from far, far, far away. So
I saw something too. Like they had I wasn't talking about Yeshua, but they're mentioned like their locks, like they had locks, like kind of like dreadlocks. They were saying that they wouldn't grow their dreadlocks too long or not too short. They would just be kind of cut. So it was kind of So like what a Greco-Roman person has, locks like that.
And totally different. The amazing thing is that in the first century, Rome, the Romans and the Jews, do you know that they were literally brothers? Remember Edom? Esau is the twin brother of Jacob.
Oh, yeah.
They were twin brothers. They're the same lineage. They didn't even know. That's how amazing it is. But that's basically what it is when it comes to the things of the Creator. We see a lot of things, and but we just have to continue the studying the Torah all the time. It's a lot of things that are encoded